Okay, here we are to create our first project within Maya, and for that we are going to be working on a modeling of a teapot. We're just going to follow the same process that we just did in class, I'm going to just give you the video so you have a way to reference what we did in class, and if you don't remember what we did in class or whatever else. Anyways, the the idea here is that we're going to use an orthographic view of the teapot, a precisely drawn image of the teapot that I can use to trace over so I can go build my teapot. So in order to do that, I'm going to use Maya. I'm going to bring that image in Maya here, but before I do that, I need to set up my project. What does it mean, set up my project? It means that Maya needs, in order for it to be successful, needs to have a specific location for it to save all the files. Maya requires a bunch of files to connect together in order to be successful. So it needs to have that location to be set up so that it knows next time you open a project or a file where it is saved, and if you need to move it, you'll move the whole thing, so the whole group of files. So let's do that. So how do I do that? I have here an empty file. There is nothing in it. There is nothing saved. So I'm going to start by setting up my project. I'm going to say File, Set Project, and that opens this window. Right away it goes to the last place where I had my folder open. So I'm going to go here under my folder 2300. Usually I work on a folder where it related to my class, in this case the 2300 class, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Teapot. So, and I'm going to open that folder, and when I'm there, I'm going to say Select Folder. That means all files that are going to be related to the Teapot project will be saved within that folder. It's asking me now, do you want to create a workspace? Because Maya needs to know how to organize things. I'm going to say, yes, create a default workspace, please. And that's fine there. Now I'm going to tell Maya, let's go outside and show you exactly what I mean by that. So you see now my teapot folder got created there, and I go in there, you can see my workspace file. This is a script that tells Maya where to find things. But inside of the teapot folder, Maya needs to be more organized. It cannot dump everything into the same folder. It needs to have a bunch of folders for all sorts of things, for the Maya file, for textures files, for reference images, for movies, for sound, for effects, for rendered images, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of files and folders that get created there, and we're going to see those in a minute. So in order to create those, I don't have to do it manually. I can go back into Maya. I'm going to say File, Set Project Window, and Maya right away finds the Teapot folder. Let me just make sure. Alright, so here we are. I had to pause my video for a moment. It was going to an older project that I had there. So here it is. I have just set my project window, and it's going to my Teapot project, which I just created. And it has it's going to create all these folders that are going to be locations where Maya is going to be saving things. Notice that the very first one that it has, the scenes folder, that's the most important one for us at this moment. And the second one, most important, is the source images folder. Those two are going to be crucial for this project for now. So I'm going to say accept. I don't need to do anything else, but just knowing that. And by doing that, Maya has, now I go back outside of Maya, and you look into the Teapot folder, you see that it created all these folders, including the scenes folder and the source images folder. So I'm now almost ready to start working in my file. But I'm going to, as I said before, I'm going to use my Teapot template in Maya so I can trace over it to model, my object. So that is a source image. And source image means it's going to go into the source images folder. So I'm going to go and grab that file. I'm going to copy it from here, I'm going to paste it into my source images folder. So I have my Teapot JPEG right there. Now I can go into Maya and I'm going to use it in here. How do I do it? So we're going to use it as a template, and that is an orthographic view of the frontal view of the teapot. So that means I'm going to bring in that in my front view. If you're not seeing your grid, you can turn it on right here. That way you can see your size of your object, and of course reference distances and all those things. So for me to bring that image here, I'm simply going to say view, image plane, import image. And that right away goes to source images. He knows it has to go there, and he finds the teapot file, which is a JPEG. I only use JPEGs for this kind of process, nothing else. I don't use JPEGs for textures or for other things, just this. So here is my teapot JPEG coming in, and if I press my space bar, I get to see my 4 views, and I use my Alt and my left mouse button. I can spin around that plane. Now, that plane, I'm going to press my space bar one more time. That plane is a bit small to me. Maya by default comes like in measurement where this 1 square of this is 1 centimeter. So 1 centimeter is about a third of an inch. So a bit small. So so I'm going to scale up my image plane. So I'm going to grab my scale tool, and I'm going to scale it up, say 2, so 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4, let's just make it a bit more, maybe say there, right there. It's going to be like, so every 2.5 is 1 inch. I can change the numbers, but honestly, people use in centimeters. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 centimeters. It's a small teapot, about 4 inches tall of the body of itself. Okay, so here I'm going to start building my object. So what is it that I'm going to be doing first? I'm going to be drawing or creating an outline of the object using the curves tool. And the curve tool will allow me to build that simple line that I'm going to simply extrude around to create a body. So I'm going to start simply by creating I'm going to use a tool that I like using a lot here, which is the grease pencil tool. The grease pencil tool allows me to draw. Usually it comes like this. Allow me to draw to show the plan. So let me see, I'm going to create a new one here. I'm going to press on the color here. I'm going to use a very vibrant red. That way we can see it. So what I'll do first, I'm going to draw. I'm doing it with my mouse very badly, but it's okay. I'm going to draw around like this. And I'm going to then do the inside of it. So if you imagine, I'm going to use this as a profile. You get the idea. That profile needs to create the outer wall and the inner wall of the object. I could keep it only to show up to somewhere here only if I'm not showing the inside of it. But let's do it complete just in case. You never know if you're animating and your camera is flying into the teapot. You need the inside. Alright, so let's do that. So in order to do that, we're going to use, I can just delete that thing and close it here. That was just for me to show you what I'm planning to do. So I'm going to just now use the nerves tool, and if I go to curves, I could use some of the tools that I have here to create the curves, but there's one that I like using. Actually, I've been using it for all my life since I've been using Maya, and is this one, the CV curve tool. Allows me to create the CVs, which are the points to kind of build the curve. Again, I'm going to just be creating just this area, and I'm going to start from the center. Why from the center line? Because I'm going to use that template, which I'm going to spin around that center line to generate that volume that I need to create. So I'm going to just start here, And of course, if you make a mistake and it's not perfect, don't worry, just keep going and then you can go back and correct it. For corners, I usually create 3 points. One before the corner, one on the corner, one after the corner. One before, one on the corner, one after. For curves, I create 2 or 3, so I'm going to use the one here, one there, and then one before the corner, one on the corner, one after the corner. You see that the curve here is not showing quite right, but it's a fine, I can go back and correct it. So one here, one before the corner, one on the corner, one after the corner, and then I'm going to start guessing what the inside wall is going to look like. Roughly like that. For curves, you usually create just fewer, and the last one, the last point is going to be right at the center of the line. I'm going to hit enter. So I'm going to right now, you can see it right there. Let me hide for a moment the image plane. So I'm going to say show, and I'm going to turn off the image planes here and check image plane. And you can see here my silhouette as it came out. It's not quite perfect. Let me just bring my silhouette one more time. My template one more time. And I'm going to fix that by, there are different ways of doing it. You can do it by changing to component mode here on the upper buttons. And then when you click that, you can see the points. And you can grab, if you open up this little tab here, it allows you to select different things to see, like the hole or the center of the lines or the points. I'm going to keep it the way it is. When I see the holes, you can see the holes. Let me hide again the image plane. You can see what the hole is showing you actually what the vertices that you created, how they are really affecting the curve. So let's keep that one on. I'm going to bring up my image plane one more time. I'm going to use select. I'm going to select these 4 guys at the same time. I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to move them out so I can get my exterior wall to match. I'm going to grab just the 2 in the center. I'm going to make the wall a bit thinner. Okay, so that seems to be good. Now I can get out of component mode. Another way of doing that is by just simply right clicking with your mouse, and you say, for example, you can grab the control vertex or the hole. You can see the hole there. You can select the vertices there, or you can select the control vertex, which are the points there. And so it's different ways. Again, right mouse button, or you can do it up here, either way. Okay, so I got that. If you want to get out of it and you want to hide those points, you right click on the object and then you go to object mode, and I normally hide those points. Let me press my space bar one more time, and you can see now that my object, my curve has followed the best possible. I can go and manually correct those guys. Usually I don't correct them in the perspective view because I don't want to be moving them off the flat plane that they are. I need them to be completely flat. So if I need to change it and edit anything, I'll do it from the front view. That way I'm making sure that I'm moving only what I need to move. In this case, for example, I want the bottom to be perfectly flat. You can see it is not perfectly flat. So I'm going to just go grab these vertices. I'm going to use my move tool. I'm just going to move them up a little bit. And I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to bring it down a tiny bit. And I'm going to put it right on top of the black line, which is the middle of the world space. There, that's a bit more precise. I'm going to keep the rest just like that, which is totally fine. Okay, so I'm ready to create my object. So I'm going to go and just do it in the perspective view because it's a lot more impressive doing it there. I'm going to go and grab my curves. Notice how when I click on the curves, let me hide my image plane one more time. when I click on the curves, the pivot point for the curve is in the center of the world. Look at that. That's very important because those curves, because they're in the center of the world, that's where it's going to be using it to spin around and create that container that I need. So in order to do that, of course, I'm working here in the modeling. I need to be in the modeling menu set. In case you're not there, you're gonna have to be there. And I'm gonna go and say under my surfaces, I'm going to say revolve. I can open up the option box for revolve to look at the options that it has. I don't need to do anything because by default it's going to do it. I don't need to modify it, but let's just quickly look at it and see a few of the things there. For example, the axis that is going to be spinning around is the y axis, which is the green one, which is what I want. I need to be spinning around a y. It's going to be spinning, pivoting around the y center of the object. And I'm going to create a cubic surface, which is, I'm going to explain a bit more later what that is. It's a calculation of distances between points and curves. And it's going to start at 0, which is right now where it is, and end at 360 degrees. And it's going to divide it in 8 segments all around. Let's see how much that represents. I'm going to complete the thing. I'm going to do it as a NURBS object. I'm going to say revolve. And there we go. Very fast and very quickly I have a container right away. So it looks pretty cool. Seems that at the bottom here there is some darkness that is generated by maybe a collision of the inner part of it, although they were separated. Maybe there is a overshooting of the object. So let me look at it from the front view here. I'm going to say, when I hit 4 on my keyboard, because what's happening is this. Let me just do it with my 4 views so you can see it. Let me hide my image plane. So right now, they are creating a little extra noise there. So I'm gonna hide for a moment here the NURBS surface, so that way I don't see it there. But I see the curve. That curve is still connected. You can see my curve there, still connected to the plane. So I'm going to just go and go to the component mode, and I'm going to go and click on these guys. I'm going to move it to the right a little bit. You see now that by moving it just a tiny bit, I got rid of that black. Why was I getting that black? Because I was probably overlapping too much. I want it to be right there, is going too far. So I just need to be just a little bit less so that it doesn't overlap. That's why I was looking at that black little point there. Okay, so for that, I'm all happy and ready, and I have my object, and I'm gonna save my file. I have not saved it, so I'm gonna say File, Save Scene. It right away, notice it jumps right away to the Scenes folder. So I'm gonna call it Teapot Model. _ model. One recommendation: you don't want to leave spaces between words. You put or just one word or underscores, but never leave spaces. Why? Because when Maya or any program is working in code, all of it is code underneath, it works in strings of code to find files. If you have a file that has a name, that has a space in between without an underscore or anything, the code will stop there and it won't be able to proceed. So you want to be careful with those things, so you're careful about it. So I'm going to say save, and it's going to also working as a student version, so that's all fine, and all done. So that's my first part. I'm going to just stop my video in this section. I'm going to continue in the next video.